Think of violence like a spiral. Broad, general at the bottom, where all the low-lying discontent is, until the higher up you go, the faster and the more intense it gets. And finally, it seems, in our grand story, someone is always found to shoulder the blame. And so that person is dealt with one way or another, and the cycle slows down, recaptures itself. There's a moment of relief, and then it starts all over again. The man, Jesus, is a scapegoat, and the spilling of his blood brings perhaps an odd sensation of release to the crowds and the authorities who have to placate the crowds by piercing his innocent flesh. I believe that since this happened, that God worked that day and continuously works through that horrific moment to bring home the most important truths that can be put into words. We all make scapegoats, even, sometimes especially, out of the ones we love. And then after the deed is done, we deny having known them as we warm ourselves beside the fire. Jean Chevalier wrote that the scapegoat stands for the deep-seated human tendency to project one's own guilt onto someone else, thus appeasing one's own conscience, which always requires some victim to bear responsibility and judgment. It is not just or fair that Jesus should die. It is not just or fair that human behavior motivates this death. After all, if he is truly the Messiah, then he of all people should continue to live in order to teach us all the more how we should live. His reign should extend into all times and places. Mysteriously, it does. But in our minds, we want to see him with us, walking among us as the head of that reign, the righteous king on his throne, not only the head of those many years before us and the people that he loved and knew, but to us too, and to all people. We should see him in his flesh. Why not? He should be king for all time. He is. Just not in the way that we think. Isn't that what immortals do in mythology? Don't they show us how they're more powerful than we are? But that's not what happens. And again, it isn't just. It isn't about what should happen, and it isn't fair. We have come to understand that even to gods, fairness is illusory. So instead, this story is shaped so as to match human experience so that we will not miss it. It mirrors our base depravity. This story is shaped so as to expose our tendency to make scapegoats and expel them. It is shaped to show us that ritual violence and murder are not acceptable ways to make us feel better about our lives. We need not make anything more or less of it at this point. There's no time. Because from here we go running through the thorns. The briars of Thursday when Jesus is betrayed. The thistles of Friday when he dies. And the prickles and quills of Saturday when the grave makes a bed. Be assured that there is no way to next Sunday without picking our way over these terrible brambles. This is but the first station, and our feet are already bloody because of how hard this teaching is. Wish with every ounce of energy I possess that I had a shortcut around the thorns that I could show to you. But there's just no way that can be accounted as faithful. The first station is done. We all make scapegoats. Let us acknowledge, though, that with Christ as our reigning head, it need not be this way, at least not among us, his followers. Amen.